Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 25th September, Monday. The news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 12. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, UN must call upon India to halt provocations, says Pakistan. So this is Pakistan's statement coming at UN General Assembly meeting, which we know was scheduled for September. So it's going on. So here it has said that if the international community wishes to avoid dangerous escalation between India and Pakistan, Pakistan is saying that the international community must call on India to halt its provocations and aggressive actions. So this is a statement coming forth, and the External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj also made a scathing attack on Islamabad's promotion of Islamist terrorism, while Pakistan points out on violation of human rights in Jammu and Kashmir and the spread of Hindu nationalism in India. So this is its viewpoint at UN General Assembly. Also, India has been saying that we are willing to engage with Pakistan, but Pakistan has spurned India's positive gestures, while Pakistan says that India refuses to have a bilateral dialogue with Pakistan, either composite or comprehensive, putting a condition that first there should be an end of violence. So this is a viewpoint which has been expressed by Indian leaders. They have said that first violence and terrorism emerging from Pakistan, originating from Pakistan, should end. Only then we can have substantial dialogue as such. So this is there, and Pakistan on its part is saying that violence is emanating from India's occupation and brutal suppression of Kashmiri people. It is saying that Kashmir is a disputed territory according to United Nations. So even the UN flag shows its, the UN map shows it as a disputed territory. So this is the justification given by Pakistan on this matter. The India-Pakistan relation came to the fore here at UN General Assembly. Then next is, government may open railway lines to private players. So this has been in news for some time, that private sector should be brought in for functioning of the railway stations, as such improvement of railway stations. So there was this 45-year lease tenure provided, if allowing private players to work on stations, provide facilities over there, lifts, escalators, etc. So this was the initiative taken. Now it has been further, further the terms and conditions have been made favorable to attract private players, because private players did not come to the fore as expected. The response was not up to the expectations. It was a lukewarm response. So here the railway minister now, Mr. Piyush Goyal, is saying that first of all, for railways, safety is of utmost importance, and he is willing to spend unlimited funds on safety. There is no budget as such for safety. So this is one point. He also talks of rapidly scaling up the bullet train project, which has been, started off right now, Mumbai to Ahmedabad. Then third thing he speaks of is regarding bringing in the private sector, in which he says that we will do away with the Swiss challenge model. So what is this Swiss challenge model? In awarding railway stations to private players, we'll understand. So the government has decided that railways will do away with the Swiss challenge model, and it will bring out a single bidding parameter, on the basis of which private players would be selected, and at least 100 stations are proposed to be leased out. And this lease tenure, as it was 45 years, has now been planned to be increased to 99 years. Even private players can sublease the stations for increasing their investment value, and also they can mortgage assets to allow banks to give them low cost funds. So these are the changes now being made as such too. What is this Swiss challenge model? You should understand, it is detailed out here. So what happens here is that the government selects one private player, and the private player gives its project proposal. So this project proposal is then put out into the public domain, and other private sector entities are asked to counter this bid, means to improve upon this proposal. They can give a better offer. So if anybody gives a better offer, then the government takes that into consideration and gives the original first player who was selected a chance to match this bid. And if they are able to match the bid amount, then the project will go to the first player only, and if they are not, then another player comes into picture. So generally Swiss challenge model is for one player who has been selected. But now the government says, the railway minister says, that we'll do away with this Swiss challenge model, and single bidding parameter would be used to bring out, to have a private player coming in for development of railway stations. So this is there. Then further details as such are provided here. Another thing which he talks of, the fourth thing, apart from security, private sector coming in, bullet trains, the fourth thing is about electrification of railway lines. So here we have to convert them into electric locomotives. Railways should move away from diesel, because diesel, the minister says, it's imported. So it's a huge cost involved here. So if you bring in electricity, it is domestically produced. So this will be more self-sufficient rather than import of diesel. So 100% electrification is also a target. So this is the viewpoints shown here, how savings would come because of complete electrification. And this is regarding the Swiss challenge system which we just discussed. Then the next news item is tech boost for soil quality scheme. So this is regarding the analysis of soil quality in the country. The government has come up with a massive scheme, the soil card scheme as such, which is there, to analyze the quality of soil of farms across the country. But now Department of Science and Technology is looking to link this program with a research project of IIT Bombay. So this will result in usage of sophisticated imaging techniques which can picture the nutrient balance of a patch of land without even collecting soil sample. So this is the initiative which has been taken. So this will be with the help of hyperspectral imaging. In hyperspectral imaging we have done last month in August. We'll see that also, the image is provided below. So this hyperspectral imaging, what does it mean? It means analyzing extremely detailed image of an object. So this is frequently analyzed to the scale of nanometers. So then the constituent elements can be reconstructed and what is it composed of. So such images need to be taken. So they can be taken from low flying planes, from drones, or even satellite images can be used. But in India currently no Indian satellite has the capability to take nanoscale resolution pictures. So this is what is required, and this can be used to calculate the proportion of NPK, nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, the three key nutrients which are essential for soil fertility. So what are the even other minerals in the soil can also be known using this hyperspectral imaging technology. So this is a technique which will be applied. So this is being worked on by IIT Bombay. So currently they have figured out ways to measure organic carbon and phosphorus in a soil sample via images. So using images without collecting soil sample, they can find out the component as such, carbon component and phosphorus component in soil. So this you can see hyperspectral imaging is provided. How does it work? So this is a landscape. So if the image which is taken, there is a spectral dimension to it. So each pixel in the image contains a sample spectrum that is used to identify the materials present in the pixel by their reflectance. So here you can see the space one hyperspectral sensors are there. So depending on reflectance, the wavelength, it can be known what component it is. So even here in this case, to a large extent, whether it is soil, where is water, where is vegetation can be known, and even in soil the constituents will be known. So this is being worked on by IIT Bombay. And this is regarding hyperspecs. So this is a satellite with this capacity, HISIS, hyperspectral imaging satellite, which has been planned by ISRO. So Indian Space Research Organization is planning to have such a satellite being launched as well. So this was the news in August 2017. So we have already discussed this. So here is shown the details of hyperspectral imaging satellite. This detail is shown here, you can see. So this will give much more detailed knowledge about images which are taken from space. So this you can see distinct identification of objects on Earth by reading the spectrum for each pixel of a scene from space can be known using this hyperspectral imaging satellite. It can be used for a variety of purposes, even for, like we saw presently, for soil analysis, even for monitoring the environment, finding of various components, even oil component, mineral components, even for military surveillance. It is of huge significance. Then next is Japan keen on friendship with Northeast. So we had our 4th Northeast Connectivity Summit in Kohima, the capital of Nagaland, for the 2 days, September 22nd and 23rd. Here Japanese participation was also there, and Japan has stated that it would like to invest in region's infrastructure, education and people-to-people sectors. It calls this northeastern India strategically and economically important juncture between India and Southeast Asia, and also with BIMSTEC community, Bay of Bengal community. So this is the viewpoint of Japan, and that is why it is keen on undertaking infrastructure projects like road connectivity, energy, water supply, sanitation, even forest resource management. And also this is a region where during the Second World War, with the help of Japan had actually made its foothold here. So even post-war reconciliation is on agenda of Japan, and to build a deeper understanding of actions of Japanese forces in the region during the Second World War. So here also along the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had also taken assistance from Japanese forces, but then Japanese brutal attack in this region is also criticized. So that is the post-war reconciliation being spoken of. Then another country which showed interest in Northeast was Myanmar. So Myanmar also understands the potential of this region. The next summit will be held in Arunachal Pradesh, which shares boundary with China. So that's why this is called a strategically important location, with countries showing their interest here. So you can see Myanmar also shares long borders with 4 northeastern states: Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Mizoram and Manipur. Then the next news item is Navy's dilemma: US-2 planes or helicopters. So the Indian Navy, the government is making attempts to procure US-2 amphibious aircraft from Japan. So Shinmaiwa is the company which builds these aircrafts, and 12 such US-2 amphibious aircrafts are being proposed to be procured. The deal is being negotiated, but there are differences over the pricing offset clause. That is why the deal has not been finalized yet. It's around $1.3 billion deal. But then the Navy officials here say that the priority of the Navy, the urgent priority of the Navy is to have helicopters and minesweepers. We can do without US-2 amphibious aircraft, but these are more important. Even the submarines which have been commissioned as such too, for those and other ships also which have been commissioned, there is a need for helicopters. And these helicopters are not presently available. The ones which are there are of 1980s vintage. So this is an urgent requirement of the Navy. See, most of the decks lie vacant because of lack of helicopters. So these are the first line of defense too. They can be used first responders in emergency on the seas also. So helicopters need to be procured on an urgent basis. And if such a huge deal is signed for US-2 amphibious aircraft, then it will eat into the resources for other urgent requirements. So that is the concern of the Navy here. Sure. And this is regarding the various deals with Japan which we have finalized as such. So this US-2 amphibious aircraft deal is also being considered. It includes transfer of technology too. Then others we have already seen: mass rapid transit system, the bullet train, then various other assistance which Japan is providing to us are mentioned here. Then next is M777 broke due to faulty shell. So this is regarding M777 ultralight howitzers. These guns. The howitzers are the guns like the Bofors. So they have been procured as such. The deal has been finalized with USA. So this is BAE Systems of USA which manufactures these guns, and presently for trial and training, the first of the guns which have come to the country have been tested, and during these tests what happened was that the ammunition exiting the barrel broke into multiple pieces and damaged the barrel as well. So this happened during the test. So this accident, an inquiry, preliminary investigation was conducted, and it has been concluded that it was faulty ammunition which was the reason for this accident. This accident took place in September 2017 only. So the ammunition as such is supplied by Ordnance Factory Board of India. The gun is provided by BAE Systems US, and so now the ammunition is being blamed in this preliminary investigation. So you should know that this was a deal signed in November 2016. 145 M777 ultralight howitzers will be procured under Foreign Military Sales Program from US government. The cost of this deal is $737 million. So under this, presently only 2 guns have arrived. One in April 2017, the guns were arrived, 2 guns arrived, and 3 more will arrive in 2018 September for training. So presently only 2 guns are there in the country, and deliveries as such will commence from March 2019 till 2021. So here the initial phase only we are seeing this accident taking place, and the blame is on the ammunition. So here the detail as such is again provided about the deal for these ultralight howitzers M777. Then next is government plans made in India body armor for soldiers. So the Prime Minister's office PMO has asked Niti Aayog to set up an interministerial committee to prepare a roadmap to encourage domestic manufacturing of lightweight body armor for army and paramilitary forces. So in the country there are various companies, especially the Kanpur based MKU and Tata Advanced Materials, which manufacture these bulletproof kits, ultralight body armor, but then they are exported to armed forces around the world, while within the country there is a deficit. The police force in the country, there is a requirement of around 50,000 bulletproof kits for the police force, and that is why this interministerial committee is proposed to be established, so that India, which is a major producer and exporter of body armor, can provide these for its own security forces as well, especially the lightweight body armor. Then next is India planning to buy Uzbek uranium. So India is having talks with Uzbekistan and other countries to procure nuclear fuel uranium. So we already have uranium, but that is not sufficient. So apart from domestic production, we are importing uranium from Kazakhstan and Canada presently, which are the 2 major producers of uranium. While we want these for our indigenously built pressurized heavy water reactors, apart from this, we are also having agreements to import uranium from Namibia and Mongolia as well. And now we are having talks with Uzbekistan for such uranium procurement as well. So this is required to have a strategic uranium reserve to ensure long-term security of nuclear fuel. So these are the top 10 uranium producers shown here. And here in terms of percentage too, you can see 40% uranium is from Kazakhstan. Second comes Canada. Then is Australia. So these are the 3 major uranium producing countries. And these are various companies as producers of uranium. Then next is GST and tweaked features handle robust August return filing, CEO. So we have heard in the GST network, which is the IT infrastructure, the backbone of GST. This had faced several glitches. The first month of GST implementation, the month of July, saw various problems. The GST Council had also set up a GOM, group of ministers under Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Sushil Modi. And this had pointed out at 25 key issues that have as such in the GST network, and now they have been worked on, and the changes, the improvement is seen. That is why it is said that August return filing has been robust. So a total 87.33 lakh registered businesses are there on the GSTN, and out of these 24.56 lakh are new registrations, and others are migration from service tax, VAT, excise regimes. So this is there for August also. The last date was September 20, and the filings of 1.3 lakh tax returns have been seen. So this has been effectively completed. So here you can see the GST network, the infrastructure, IT infrastructure is shown. So here is the taxpayer. The front end is GST and IT system. So this is a common portal through which the GST application comes in, and there it has a network of banks and RBIs. The interface files can be accessed. The common portal database, the state center database is also in place. So these are the interface files through which the states as well as central taxation IT system is connected. So they can also procure these details here. And it goes to the accounting agencies and treasuries as well, and the taxation authorities. So this is the GST network. Also, you should know that it is a non-profit company, GSTN, in which central government has 24.5% stake, state governments and EC has 24.5% stake, and then there is NSE Strategic Investment Company which has 10% stake, LIC has 11% stake, and the banks HDFC Bank, HDFC and ICICI Bank each having 10% stake. So So this is the not-for-profit company, GST, and the equity structure. Then next is GST, MSMEs to gain via better competitiveness. So here this is an article regarding the benefits of GST and even the hindrances in this way. So goods and services tax is set to enhance the competitiveness of almost 5 crore micro, small and medium enterprises in the country. So these are significant component of the economy. They account for 25% of employment, 40% of industrial output and 45% of exports from the country. So that is why these MSMEs will now become part of organized commerce and they will be offered a level playing field, because of which the competitiveness is enhanced and they would benefit. So it's a simplified tax structure, a unified market for the MSMEs. So then they are getting lower freight costs also, because we have already seen the interstate taxation is not there. So there is lower cost of raw material procurement as such, which is seen too. So lower tax burden also because of this. Interstate sales, this complexities also disappear. Then also they can have this, because there is no burden of tax on interstate sales, they can accept orders from other states also and expand. Also with low cost imports also, since the taxation is same, then they can also compete with low cost imports. So that is also, these are the advantages because of GST. Because first of all, interstate taxation has been eliminated. So interstate tax been eliminated. These are the benefits: lower freight costs and raw material procurement, sale, imports, they can compete with the. So it is ease of doing business which will be facilitated through GST, and there will be minimal or no interface of the bureaucracy, physical interface with the bureaucracy. So this will bring in transparency in compliance, and the cost of compliance will also reduce. So these are the benefits of GST, because it's a completely electronic. You're filing your returns electronically. But then the compliance aspect is also there as a hindrance, because the MSMEs will have to have compliance done regularly. They have to fill their returns regularly on GST on more frequent basis, monthly basis, as we are seeing. So then they'll require specialized manpower too, which having knowledge about computers as such. So functioning with this technology enabled platform like GST, the intermediaries' help may also be required for GST. So this is also another aspect which they will have to look into. Also there is an aspect of input tax credit. So whatever inputs, raw materials are being procured, if the taxation is done by this supplier, then only the other end, customers want to buy from the supplier only if they are filing their returns regularly. So if MSMEs are also filing returns regularly, they'll be able to take advantage of this benefits which we have just spoken. Otherwise they will lag behind, because customers, if they buy from such tax compliant suppliers, then only they can get input tax credit, otherwise they can't. So this is also one burden which will be there on MSMEs. If they fulfill that, the benefits are as discussed. So it's true that there will be initial hiccups in the initial months. It's a massive reform, so, and that's why we are seeing some teething troubles, as it is called. But then if they are able to overcome these few challenges, hindrances, then GST will prove to be a boon for the industry in general and for the MSMEs in particular. So this is the article. Then next is all you need to know about graded surveillance measure. So this graded surveillance measure as such was introduced by SEBI to keep tab on securities that witness an abnormal price rise that is not commensurate with the financial health and fundamentals of the company. Like if their earning or their book value is that much, the price to earnings ratio is good, favorable, then only they can have such price rise. So if it's an abnormal price rise, then the SEBI puts conditions on them, and that is what this graded surveillance measure is all about. So it alerts and protects the investors trading in the security which is seeing this abnormal price movement. So that is the objective of this graded surveillance measure of SEBI. It's done through 6 stages. So there are 6 stages with corresponding surveillance actions and restrictions on trading getting higher progressively. So these 6 stages are mentioned here. And there is also quarterly review being done of these securities as well. So they will not permanently remain in this graded surveillance list. They can shift from one stage to other 2 and can be removed from this list as well. So these 6 stages as such are mentioned here, that at first stage what action would be taken, then if they go for higher surveillance measure, then the second stage comes in, and finally the 6th stage. So you can see transfer to trade. For trade with price band of 5% or lower as applicable will be there in the first stage. Here you can see. So they are trade to trade segment, a maximum 5% movement in share prices allowed. Share prices cannot increase above 5%. So no speculative trading is allowed, and the delivery of shares and payment of consideration amount is mandatory. Then in the second stage, buyer of the security has to put 100% of trade value as additional surveillance deposit, and the deposit would be retained by the exchanges for a period of 5 months, and it would be refunded also in a phased manner. And third stage, trading is permitted only once in a week for that particular security, that is, say, every Monday. And apart from that, buyer has to put in 100% of the trade value as additional surveillance deposit. So from stage 2 onwards, this additional surveillance deposit also starts off. Fourth stage, the additional surveillance deposit increases to 200%. Fifth stage, trading, here it was once a week permitted, now it is permitted once a month, and additional surveillance deposit is again 200%. And the sixth final stage, there is maximum restriction, trading is permitted only once a month, no upward movement is allowed in price, and additional surveillance deposit of 200% is required to be made. So this is graded surveillance measures. This had specifically been used in case of shell companies as such, on which restrictions have also been imposed by SEBI. Then next is, who's lending to Indian businesses? So this is regarding the recent report which has come from RBI. So under this, the flow of financial resources to the commercial sector. This data shows that for the financial year 2017-18 as such, the date, it has been seen that the banking share as such in new credit has gone down to 35%. For financial years up to 2016, it was 50% or more of the credit requirement taken care of by the banking system for the commercial sector. But in the financial year 2017, this has gone down, because we are seeing that banks are suffering because of fountains of bad loans, and they are trying to reduce these. So that is why they are operating on precarious levels of capital. So then the fund and the credit requirement for Indian businesses is now being taken care of by bond markets, non-banking finance companies, and FDIs. So this is being shown here. Bond market has also seen a remarkable pickup in the last 3 years as such. Here you can see this has been, bonds have been functioning well because of fallen interest rates. These fallen interest rates are more quickly and effectively reflected in bonds rather than by the banks. So bonds have picked up. Also, retail savings are flowing into mutual funds, insurance firms, pension funds. So this is also bonds are becoming stronger and a source of credit for commercial sector. So this is there. And another thing is, with bond market, this is more accessible to large enterprises because they have good credit ratings rather than SMEs who have low ratings. And then the third aspect is FDI. So FDI is also providing fund for credit for businesses in the country. So that is why it is concluded that even if bank credit growth slumps, the banks are not able to take care of credit growth even to a 20-year low. If they go down to a 20-year low as such, it will not necessarily spell a doom for the economy. So this is the conclusion being made, and this is the detail being shown about the financial year 2016 and 2017, how banks credit, what was the rate of banks credit and how much is it, how much of the credit was provided by banks. So this has drastically reduced, as you can see. NBFCs has increased. Bonds, fund raised from bonds has increased, and this is from financial institutions and FDIs. So this is there. So these are the news items. Thank you.